The first minute was just confusion, a half-familiar ping on my phone, the fizzing whirl in my chest as I scrolled. My cousin Marta had tagged me in a video. Her caption read, "Our local genius has big plans, just wait for this." The video started as a shaky close-up of my face, anxious and hopeful, holding a handmade cardboard sign that read, "Looking for an AI future, Lisbon's next startup." Beside me, Rua Augusta swirled with tourists and impatient Lisbotas, their faces indifferent to my scrappy little dream. Then came the snickers on video. Jorge, my old schoolmate, laughing. "He thinks robots will, what? Take out our trash?" Someone shouted, "Teach your mom how to use email first, genius." Their laughter was sharp. It pinged off shopfront glass and merged with tram bells and accordion notes in the air, fusing into something tighter, meaner. Someone else must have shared it. 4 hours later, it exploded on local social media. By evening, my Aunt Lena called my mother, half pitying, half appalled. "People are saying your son is begging on the street. For robots?" I didn't leave my room that night. My phone buzzed and buzzed, a bee trapped in a glass. I cracked it open, saw the likes, the mocking comments, the private messages that said, "Ambitious idiot," and "Dreamers like you stay broke." Marta, somewhere between amusement and embarrassment, posted, "He's got heart, but not sense." That stung the deepest, because it felt true. Outside, Tram 28 whined up the hill. I sat at my desk, the little sliding window open, and wished the noise would drown everything out. I didn't sleep until dawn. My mother tried to make it lighter the next day at breakfast. "People don't understand what you're trying, Joelle. Lisbon isn't ready." But she hesitated at ready, as though she herself wasn't sure what I was doing, applying for foreign grants and pitching at hackathons no one in our family had ever heard of. My kid sister Anna just shook her head when I asked for quiet so I could join my online seminar. "You waste so much time, you know." I burned that embarrassment into a slow, durable fuel. The ridicule shrank but never disappeared. At family dinners, Marta and Jorge brought it up. "Remember when you tried to do a startup in a country with no money?" Jorge would say, smirking, pushing back his hair. "You should have joined me at Pingo Doce, Joao. More honest work." Sometimes, even years later, someone would show me the video at a party, tipsy and joking, and laugh so the old pain came back fresh as a cut tongue. But I kept to my code, pouring 12, 14 hours a day into writing, deleting, rewriting. My waking hours were a blur of circuits and Python, grant applications, and virtual meetings where they needed my English, my hope, and my willingness to be paid in late nights. Sometimes I believed if I just built something solid enough, real enough, I'd finally be free. Other days, a simple phrase, "ridiculous," or "you think you know better than the world," could unravel me for hours. My AI future sign gathered dust in the closet behind winter coats. I learned to stop talking about my project, even with people who almost understood. I shut down my social media, updated my professional bios in English. Lisbon, with its golden avenues and dusty hills, became the place I loved but couldn't stay, not while everyone watched for me to fail. That was 4 years ago. I left Portugal at 27 with little in my pocket but an EU digital fellowship and a battered Lenovo laptop. London, then Berlin, then briefly Tallinn, a string of rented rooms, bad coffee, and cheap late-night shawarma. Each city less familiar but oddly safer because nobody knew my story there. I reshaped myself in code and ambition, partnerships, prototypes, late-night whiteboard sessions. I learned the ritual pain of near success, then the sneaky joy of maybe. I ate so much tuna and microwaved rice that first year. The first major setback, our data misfire, a public product flop. I almost gave up, but the embarrassment in Lisbon gnawed at me harder than failure. I couldn't return to Rua Augusta with nothing to show, exposing my old wounds to laughter again. It took 2 years for investors to finally listen, really listen, to what my team had built. At a Berlin conference, I stood on a stage with sweat running down my back, told an audience about our AI. Vision for elderly care, real-time translation for the aging and isolated, tools that made people brighter and less lonely. Unlike at home, these faces nodded, even clapped. I pitched in accented English, voice steady for the first time, because no one here had seen that viral video. A year after that, in 2022, our software won an EU grant. Suddenly, people called me founder, offered interviews, drinks, access. My inbox filled with partnership requests. For days, I wandered the Tiergarten under cold, brittle Berlin skies, barely believing this new world. But I had always promised myself a return, not to boast, but to show the form, the substance, the real thing I built from my loneliness and blind hope. Lisbon shimmered blue and gold as my plane descended, the river catching sunlight in slices. I sweated in my suit, the sleeves too tight after years of rushed meals, my beard rougher, face more lined than before. I wheeled my suitcase up Avenida de Liberdade, feeling every cobblestone's memory. I set up meetings. The first was a government-run Innovation Day, held in a glass-fronted hall near Santiago. I walked the cool corridors, feeling both invisible and exposed. Soon the press called. Not headline news, but feature segments. Lisboeta behind Europe's most promising AI startup returns home. Their words. People started to ask, "Weren't you the boy with the sign? What changed?" I smiled. Said little. Inside, that first night, I lay awake in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, letting the old shame curl up beside me. My mother was proud, of course, nervous as if she couldn't quite believe it would last. Anna, older now, played a news clip for her friends on her phone, half proud, half teasing. Marta sent me a sheepish message. I always said you had guts. But it was the neighborhood, our block's old faces, that haunted me. The bakery lady who'd seen the video, the neighbors who'd joked, the aunties who'd whispered at the market. For them, my success was suspicious, abstract. Some said, "So is it real? What does he actually do?" over coffee and pastéis de nata. The city organized a local technology showcase, and for the first time, I agreed to appear. Authorities borrowed our prototype, a compact device, the Clara. No flashy chrome, just a pale box the size of a paperback, loaded with our software. We set up at the Mercado da Ribera, cordoning off 3 tables beneath broad iron arches, paneled in faded green and gold. The scent of seafood and custard ricocheting through the space. Early in the afternoon, as sunlight painted the stalls honey and amber, a crowd began to cluster. City officials, young entrepreneurs, and, inevitably, family. I glimpsed Marta, hands in pockets, phone up as if preparing another video. Jorge, now heavier and balding, stood nearby, arms folded. My mother stood at the edge, her mouth pressed flat, a mix of nerves and fierce hope. I stood by the Clara device, palms sweaty, team standing by, praying the demo would hold. Familiar faces drifted in, old classmates skeptical, half expecting failure. I started my speech. My voice felt foreign, as though years of English pitches had replaced my native accent with something stiffer. Everyone here remembers me, maybe not for my best day. 4 years ago, some of you filmed me with my sign. Today, I want to show you exactly what I dreamed back then. Not just an idea, but a tool you can touch and use. Hands on the device, I introduced Dona Lucilia, a silver-haired neighbor who'd volunteered for the public demonstration. Her hands shook slightly as she pressed the button. Into the Clara she spoke, faltering. I wish I could understand my son's messages. He writes in English from America, and I only know a little. The device responded instantly in warm, clear Portuguese. Your son says he loves you, and he has exciting news.